Welcome, guys. We have a super special episode for you today. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Mitten State Sports Corner. I am here with Joe Rankevich here in Henry the Hatter. Nice to meet you. And this is something that we have never done before. This is a little bit different for you guys, so we hope you guys enjoy this. We are at the famous Henry the Hatter, and you guys are going to hear a little bit about the history, the backstory, and how this ties into the sports community here coming up. But just want to first off say thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming in.
Really am intrigued with just this whole setup here and the history. You can just tell this is a part of the heart and soul of Detroit here. Yep. So let's get right into it, though. How did you first get into this business in general? Tell us about that.
Well, I've always loved hats. Collected my grandpa's hats, collected hats even when I was in high school. Never knew I was going to get into the hat business. Just so happens I was working in a bakery in Hamtramck, where I was born and raised. And my high school principal came in and asked what I was doing, explained I'm working in the bakery. He said, well, Henry the Hatter is taking over an existing hat store in Hamtramck, and they want somebody local to run the place. So I went in for an interview. I interviewed on probably December 3rd. They liked what I had to say, and they asked me to come and start work on January 3rd, 1985.
Okay.
And here it is, a little bit over 40 years later, I'm still here.
Yeah. What's the history with Henry the Hatter in general? I mean, I know you guys have a couple locations, but give us a little bit of backstory about how it came to be. It's the oldest hat store in the country, is that correct?
Oldest hat store in the United States,
okay.
Yep. 133 years currently in business.
Okay.
The original Henry was cleaning silk top hats back in 1890s. He figured if he could learn how to clean them, he could try to sell them. Mm-hmm. Opened up his first location. In fact, we do have a photograph up on the wall there of our first location. With Henry himself, he was State of Michigan boxing commissioner.
Okay.
He was in the Masonic Temple Band, Detroit School Board, a man about town. But he didn't want to be the face of Henry. There's only a few pictures of him in action in the store. In 1904, he took on a partner named Gus Newman, who became the face of Henry from the early 1900s until about 1940. In that time, anytime there were big boxing matches, they would bring the guys in for photo ops. And there's other photos here. There's a 1920s photo of lightweight Benny Leonard. There's a photo back there of Jack Dempsey, 1928. Max Baer from the 1930s. Then there's other newer photos, Lem Barney. And we do have current athletes that do come through the store. But the Henry the Hatter itself, we've been kicked around the Detroit area for probably 7 or 8 different locations. Our last store we were in for 65 years. We lost the lease in 2017. We were closed for a total of 4 months, and we moved here into the Eastern Market in December of 2017.
What kind of hats do you guys produce? Do you guys produce your own hats? What's the story behind that?
We used to make our own hats at the old store. That factory closed in 1985. What we did was we took the hat blocks that were our favorites for not only for our own, but for our customers, and we sent those to different factories. So we do have a factory in Canada that makes hats for us. There is a factory in Pennsylvania that makes hats for us, and a factory down in Garland, Texas that makes hats with our label and our styles.
Okay. And why Detroit? Why is Detroit the home for Henry the Hatter?
Detroit is just a very stylish city. You see a lot of things about the decay and the downfall of Detroit, but when guys want to dress, they dress. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter, head to toe, they're going to be dapper. They might not have a nice car to drive, but they like to dress. Mm-hmm. And that's our basic customer. And
that kind of ties in with that, Motor City grit, that type of feel is kind of what you get when you walk in a place like this. So tell me, I mean, you said you've had a ton of athletes and famous people that have come through the store. Do you have any special stories? Do you have somebody that really sticks out to you? Somebody that kind of even starstruck you at some point?
Well, I think my first time when I was working at our store in Southfield, Barry Sanders came through. Robert Porsche. The clothing store that was next door to us at that time was customizing clothes for the guys because they were still playing in Pontiac,
sure.
At Silverdome. Mm-hmm. So they would bring the guys in and we'd match up their suits to their hats. My first instance in the Detroit store, Kid Rock called, and he was buying fur. He was looking at different fur pieces around the corner at Wolverine Fur, and he called. It was 5 minutes to 6, and we closed at 6 o'clock. He said, "I'm right around the corner. Can I stop in?" So the owner said, yeah, you come on in. Well, he comes in with a big cigar in his mouth, and an ash about 3 inches long
yeah.
hanging off of it. And we just got brand new carpet like a week prior to that. And he comes in, he takes that cigar and puts it on the corner of the table like this. And the first thing he does, that big ash falls right down. Oh my gosh. Brand new carpet. Right. I thought the owner was going to go nuts.
Yeah, I bet.
Kid Rock just takes his shoe, shuffles it over, makes sure it's not lit or not burning, and he goes on with the rest of the day. But Kid Rock's been a big thing for our straw hats for the summer. He used to do the cruises, and guys would come in even 4 or 5 months prior to the cruise and get the Kid Rock straw hat.
Really? Okay.
So we still carry that hat just because people will call up and say, I want the Kid Rock hat.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting story. Is that seem to be your most popular hat? Is that straw hat? What would you say?
No, everybody asks what's most popular. The thing is, we carry so many different styles that there's not really one popular shape. 6, 7 years ago, there was a trend to go to smaller brims, what we call a stingy brim hat. The last 2 or 3 years ago, it's been the wide, flat brims, but now we're just going back to normal fedora styles. People, what's new? There's nothing new. It's just rotates history.
Right.
Your basic 2.5 inch fedora snap brim down, similar to what I'm wearing. Very popular, and it's universal. You can wear the brim up, you wear the brim down. You can do change the styling of it. There's not really one hat that's going to make. You can have just one hat in the store and make a business. So many different people, shape of their face, what they're wearing it with. We take all of that into account when we sell them a hat.
So what goes into, so say somebody comes in and says, I'd like you to make me a hat, right? So walk me start to finish. Like, what is the process, procedure? How long does it take? What kind of things are you looking for? How does that work?
What we usually do is ask them what they're going to wear it with. If they call ahead, we say, hey, if you're going to wear it with a suit or a top coat, bring that with you. Because depending upon how the outfit is laid out, if he's wearing a top coat that's got a wide lapel or heavy padding in the shoulders, you want something wider, a little bit broader shape to sort of bring everything together. If he's wearing one of the modern suits where to me they look like they're too small and everything's skinny, you go with smaller brim, but it's got to work with the face.
Sure.
Customer will come in and say, I saw a guy on TV last night, I want that same hat. We'll put him in that same hat, but if it doesn't work, we'll let him know.
Yeah.
This is close to it, but the brim needs to be a little bit wider,
Right.
or brim needs to be a little bit shorter. Either way, we want that customer to look in the mirror and say, hey, I like that, I'm going to buy it. And when we do have that customer that is stuck on that one style, it's not that we discourage them. We just say, when you're looking for other things, come back. We would like you to try different styles. We want customers to repeat. We don't want a one-time wonder. We need the repeat customers, and that's what's kept us in business for so long. The customer service, the selection that we have, things like that, all goes into making that customer happy.
And how long, start to finish, if somebody were to come in and order a specific hat, and I know this can probably vary a little bit, but typically how long is the turnaround for a custom hat to be made?
We don't do too much in the custom anymore. We do have a lot of stuff on the shelf that we can customize with different ribbons.
Okay.
We can change the shapes, things like that. A lot of the factories that we dealt with that would do one-off hats, at one time it would be 3 to 4 weeks. Now a lot of them won't even do one at a time anymore.
Really?
So we'll take a hat on the shelf and we'll customize it ourselves. We used to have an old factory at our old store where we've got a bunch of different brim flanges to reshape the brim. We've got different blocks to reshape the crown. We still have a lot of old vintage ribbon, other accessories that we can make the hat look totally different from what's on the shelf.
Wow, okay. That's just interesting. There's so much customization, and a lot of people probably don't realize what goes into it, and it's intriguing to hear and just see kind of the selection that you guys have. I mean, honestly, like, not coming from this industry, I am amazed at how many different options just that you have here.
Yeah.
Not to mention if you can customize
And then
them on top of that.
Yeah. What I do with my hats, this is probably the only hat that I have that I took off the shelf and put on and wore just as is. Most of my other hats, I will take a different shape, reshape it to the way I like to wear it, and go on my day. This is probably, like I said, this is probably the only one I've worn right off the shelf.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And, we had mentioned a little bit ago about, Barry Sanders, and you've had Robert Porsche and things, but who would you say is your maybe favorite or most memorable one that's ever come through the store? And is there a reason why?
Mike Epps, the comedian.
Okay.
He's just as funny in person as he is on stage. He would come into the store and he doesn't know you, but he'll talk about you. It was a great time to have him in the store. Mm-hmm. He's been in a few times. We sort of got some feedback when Grant Hill was with us with the Detroit Pistons. He came into our store when he was injured, had something with his foot or ankle or something. And he came in on crutches. and nobody in the store asked for his interview. And I think he got brokenhearted, and that's when he wanted to trade. So I don't know if that's true or not, but we just
Pushed him out of town,
Yeah,
maybe.
pushed him out of town.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't make him feel all welcome here.
Right.
This podcast is brought to you by JMC Sports, your destination for authentic sports memorabilia, cards, and collectibles for every fan. Check them out in store or online at jmcgear.com. And Kendrick Sports Training, your community-built home for small groups, teams, and athlete training. Visit them at kendricksportstraining.com.
All of our customers are very special to us. They're all celebrities. As long as that cash register rings, they're a celebrity to us.
That's awesome. And how many? You have 2 locations right
Two
now?
locations.
Okay.
We do have a presence on the internet.
Okay.
The store here in the Eastern Market, we've been here for just over 8 years now. Our store in Southfield, come November, will be 35 years in Southfield. That's at the corner of 10 Mile and Greenfield. So we've been there quite a while now. We carry the same selections at both locations. When we did first open the store in Southfield, it was more for the Jewish trade that lives in Southfield and Oak Park. We're right on the border there. And half of the store was the wide brim black hats that the Orthodox Jewish people wear. Comes to find out that a lot of our northern suburb customers, instead of driving all the way downtown, started shopping there. And so now we offer the same selection at both locations.
Interesting. Okay.
And then our website, the thing about our website is it's hard to buy a hat the first time on the internet. You don't know how the company's sizes run. They're not universal like they used to be.
Sure.
We can take 3 hats off the shelf today, all marked the same size, and they're going to get a different fit on each one. So a lot of our internet customers are repeat customers, live out of town. They know the style that they like, the size that they wear in that manufacturer, and they'll order different colors on our web.
Okay. And I can imagine with the customization process, just like you mentioned, it's going to be very hard to just select one of those online and be able to assume or hope that it fits. You know, you guys kind of tailor that to, you know, that specific outfit, that specific person. And so I would understand that would be a little more difficult, but nice to have the option. You know.
And if a customer, they can tell us either when they place the order, I'm in between sizes. We do have hat pads that you can put underneath the sweatband, or if we know that the customer's in between sizes, we have a way that we can adjust a hat down half a size or even a full size if we need to.
Wow.
And in that box, we let them know this is exactly what we did to make the hat adjustment. If it needs more, here's more. If it needs some, take some of the tape out. So there's a note in every order that this is exactly what we did to your hat.
Wow. Okay. And so I noticed when we walked over here a little bit, you had a couple of these, I would call them templates, or I assume the blocks,
Hat
right?
blocks.
Hat blocks. Okay. So, I mean, is it just an unlimited number of options there, or is there kind of some standards, or how does that work?
No, it's unlimited because for when hats were in vogue in 1920s, 1930s, when every man on the street had a hat, they were sold in 12 or 13 different sizes.
Wow.
So you have this block shape 12 or 13 times because each one has to have a different block. Each hat size has to have a different block. The same thing with what they call a brim flange. The way the brims are curled, each one has a specific size that fits that block.
Okay.
So you can imagine a hat factory with just thousands of these pieces of wood. And now this is what they call an open crown block. This is what we use mostly now.
Okay.
We'll find the correct size. They're all marked what size they are. And when we do our cleaning and blocking, the hat is cleaned in the chemical cleaning process. We take the lining out, we wash that separately. We put the hat back on this block and sort of just stretch it over the top and just get a round shape back into it. And once it's steamed and sort of setting in that shape, we'll hit it with some steam and then we'll be able to put the creases back in the way we like them.
Wow.
We don't have all the actual shapes that are sold on the shelf in the block, but once we start with the open crown, we can always reshape it by hand, which we do most of our work by hand now.
Okay.
And on a hat like this, when they do bring it in for cleaning, as I stated, this one doesn't have a lining, but we would pull the lining out, we wash that separately. Some guys have had their hats for so long that the leather sweatband is dry rotted. We can replace that. As I said, we got vintage ribbon where we can replace the outside ribbons. I've done a couple of different styles to where we'll stack ribbons to give different color variations. We have people that will bring an album cover in and say, hey, I like this hat. Can you make it? We'll come as close as we can to making that hat. I'll go out and pick up a specialty ribbon. I've waited for months on eBay for some ribbons to come through just for customers, and we've customized pieces all the time.
Wow. Okay. And would you say that's probably what sets you guys apart from maybe some other competitors out there? Is that the true, hand done specialty type of hats that you
Yeah,
guys do?
the workmanship, the service that we give to the customers. Even we have customers that come in every day and they're buying a new hat, but they've got an old hat that they wore in. It's a little dusty. We'll go ahead and steam it, freshen it up for them. But we usually wait till after they buy the new one.
Yeah.
Because we can make that old one look as good. They won't need the new one anymore. So
Right.
we wait till they buy the new one.
That makes sense
Yeah.
completely. Okay, and so do you guys do anything with and I'm just curious out of some of this stuff, do you guys outfit any teams, any police departments? Do you guys do anything like that where you guys have a special line for certain organizations, anything like that?
We
or-
did for a while in Detroit for some of the Detroit police detectives. We were doing a gray straw hat that was actually made in Canada at one time by the Biltmore Company, but that was a long time ago. Now the detectives, they have their own dress, or most of them are undercover now, so you don't even know who
Right.
they are. And they can come in and wear a baseball cap backwards.
Yep.
We don't know.
Yeah, right.
We just don't know who's walking through the door. But we'll service all of them.
Okay.
We'll take care of everybody.
And no, I mentioned a little bit before we got on the air here about your previous location upstairs was where they were made. Is that correct? Or
Yes,
can you tell me a little more about that?
there was a hat factory at our Broadway store, opened in 1953, I believe it was, and they took in thousands of hats from around the world. They were one of the biggest hat renovators in the United States. That factory actually closed in 1985. It's weird because it was like a Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock. There were hats in the process of being made, and somebody shut the electricity off and never came back to work.
Wow.
As the years progressed, the machinery that we had there, you can't buy the machinery. Either stores are closing or factories are closing, and they pass off that machinery to somebody else. That's the only way you get the hat manufacturing machinery anymore. So we had a guy that came in from Utah. He understood that we had a hat factory there. No phone call, no nothing. He pulled up with a U-Haul and a trailer and asked to see what we have. On that day, he ended up taking what they call a crown iron, but it was a 4-head crown iron. The motor that ran this thing was probably 3 foot in diameter, had a chain links, 6, 7, 8 inches wide, just a monster of a thing. He cut it in 2 sections, put it on his U-Haul trailer, took a couple of other pieces, and took them back to Utah. 3 months later, they were so clean and painted and redone, they were more like museum pieces.
Really?
But he was actually using them in his hat factory.
Wow.
There's another gentleman in Chicago that did the same thing. He's going out and buying these different machine heads. So you have a basic motor and the different sewing machine heads. One will actually fold the felt over and put a stitch. There's another one that will take a piece of ribbon and fold it over and stitch that. So there's all these different aspects. There's another one that you put the leather band in and it stitches it from the outside. So all these different machines were sitting there and we didn't know how to use them because the people retired and didn't pass that trade on.
Yeah.
So he ended up buying a lot of that stuff and some of it is just display pieces now, but most of it is still in active use.
Wow, that's awesome, and to kind of have that piece of history still out there and in use it's got to feel pretty awesome.
When Stetson was born in Philadelphia, that's where they started their factory. When they moved to Missouri back in the early 1900s, I guess it was, they took the machinery that they needed, and instead of letting somebody else take over the old machinery or learn how to manufacture it, they took sledgehammers and broke everything apart.
Wow.
They didn't want anybody else to learn.
To have that, like you said, on a Friday, the lights are shut off, and it was just kind of this abandoned scene. I had to imagine that was kind of interesting for you guys to walk into, I imagine.
Yeah.
So what would your guys be considered your biggest competitor in this market? I mean, is there a certain company? Is there a certain...
We do have other stores in Detroit that sell hats. Hats Galore and More is a few miles away from us. There's a few new hat stores that moved down the Livernois Avenue of Fashion. But for the style selection and customer service, you can't beat Henry the Hatter.
No, you can tell. I mean, it's just, like I said, walking in here, it already feels like home when you walk in, so.
At our store on Broadway, there was a fire in 1952. And there's a box back there that's sort of charred on the bottom with an old silk top hat inside. That's the only thing that got out of there. The entire building didn't burn because at one time it was a bank and the cement and everything was pretty much protected. But the main floor was burnt. So lost a lot of inventory. These cabinets that are in this store now came from that store. When we moved in here, that wall was there, this wall was here, that door was there. These cabinets fit right where they sit.
Wow.
Those cabinets fit. We did have to adjust the base on that one there. everything fit right where it's at. So it looks like it's been here a long, long time. And that's the look we wanted when we moved in.
Yeah.
So it works for us.
That's super awesome. And so, how many employees do you have that work here?
We currently have 7 full-time,
Okay.
3 part-time. The owner that I bought it from, he still comes in when he's not on his 4-month sabbatical in Florida. He's not a winter person at all anymore.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
He still comes in once or twice a week to give us a hand, give me a break. And the reason how he got the business, the original Henry, in 1904, took on a partner, Gus Newman. When Henry passed away, Gus Newman and Henry's wife did not like each other. The first person that came in and offered them to buy Henry the Hatter, they sold it to. So there's a photograph up here of Seymour Wasserman. Came to Detroit in 1948, heard that Henry the Hatter was for sale, ended up buying it on the spot.
Wow.
He had already had a hat store in New York. He had to go back to New York and tell his wife what he did. They ended up moving to Detroit, and his son Paul took over the business. He came into the business in 1973, and when his father passed in 1998 or 99, he took over the business. How I got it, when we got kicked out of our old building in 2017, Paul offered to sell me just a store in Southfield.
Okay.
At that time, Henry the Hatter was in Detroit for 124 years. And I went home and discussed it with the family, and I says, I was offered to buy Henry the Hatter. What do you want to do? And we thought about it. He says, well, because it's been in Detroit for so long, historic spot, I'll buy it if we find another spot in Detroit. So again, we were closed for a total of 4 months. At the time that we got kicked out, Little Caesars Arena was just being built, so District Detroit, hey, come on, we've got room for you. We'd like to have you down here. Corktown, we saw a building very similar to this in Corktown, maybe a couple hundred square feet smaller. New Center area, everybody wanted us. Henry the Hatter, yeah, we'd love to have you here. This just fit.
Yeah.
So we're very happy here.
You mentioned being or potentially close to Little Caesars Arena at that time, but even prior to, obviously the Joe being downtown, Ford Field, Comerica Park, all these other avenues. Do you guys get athletes from all sports? Do you get, does it seem to be a certain type of athlete that comes through here? What do you typically see?
We don't see a whole lot of athletes anymore here. We notice that a lot of the other clothing stores that they're getting custom items from are carrying hats too.
Gotcha.
When they do want a better selection, they will come in here. But again, we don't say, hey, that's so and so.
Yeah.
It's just it's another customer to us.
Absolutely. And everybody, like you said, everybody's a celebrity, and I think that's an awesome way to do things. Well, I tell you what, this has been really an eye-opening experience for myself, and I'm really just intrigued to kind of even walk around and take it in a little bit more. But I really appreciate you taking the time
thank you.
to sit down with us and kind of explain the history on it. And for those of you that have not been here, you guys have to come check this store out. If you guys have any questions, Joe here is going to be the man to see. And again, just to even come in here and just take a look around, I assure you will not be disappointed.
Yeah, and we have customers, especially on Saturday when the market's busy, people from all over the world come in. Never had a hat on before. Oh, I've heard about you guys, but we try to get them in a hat, whether they're buying or not. Try something on. We'll mark down your hat size on a business card. We'll give you a catalog. Maybe you'll come back in a year or two and buy that hat.
That's awesome.
As long as you have something that says, hey, I was at Henry the Hatter, we're good.
Right. I can understand that completely.
I've got another funny story, though.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the 1940s, Henry the Hatter got fined for littering. And looking at, there's a magazine called The American Hatter. They hired an airplane to take a flyer and drop it out of the airplane. And on the bottom of the flyer was a $1 off cleaning of a hat if you bought a boxing ticket, because Henry was the boxing commissioner. Henry the Hatter got fined for littering because not everybody was picking up flyers that were coming out of airplanes. So every flyer that they had to pick up, the city had to pick up, they got fined.
Oh my gosh, that's interesting. And it's obviously nothing he did. It was just kind of how that worked.
That type of advertising that he wanted to do too, yeah.
As you can tell, they've got themselves a small catalog here, but of course, I'm sure this is just a piece of it, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But you guys come in, and again, like you mentioned, it's not about necessarily buying a hat that day. It's coming in, it's getting the feel, it's understanding the history, and understanding that this is going to be customized to you. And so, guys, I really can't understate this enough. you guys have to come check this store out. This is an awesome place to be. So, again, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate this. And looking forward to it.
Very good. Sounds good. Thank you very
So
much.